And I am really charged up about today's discussion. I have to say that home maintenance, as it relates to aging in place, is a bit of a blind spot to me and it shouldn't have been, because most of the discussions that I have on a daily basis with our community members are talking about, I'm concerned about dad. He still wants to clean the gutters, or I'm concerned about mom. She's in the garden weeding and I'm worried that she's going to get injured. And and that's what I hear anecdotally from our community members. Whereas when you go out there and you do research or you look broadly at the topic of aging in place, a lot of it is more medical focused. It's more about, grab bars being installed, or transportation services, or hiring a home care agency. And I think if we back up a little bit, there's a lot out there in the home maintenance space that can really facilitate a quality of life when aging in place. And I'm thrilled to welcome two pioneers in this area, Lisa Wise and Chris Rosenbaum, who are with a innovative organization called Birdwatch that really helps people of all ages with this home maintenance issue. And so I figure this is going to be a great opportunity for us to discuss something that's not discussed that often, and also present folks with a solution on how they can get some help in this area for themselves or for their loved ones. So Chris and Lisa, welcome. Great to have you today. You're in Philadelphia, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Excellent. Well, before we dive into this topic, let's get to know the two of you a little bit better. And Lisa, I know you're the founder of Birdwatch. Tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to creating this organization.
Absolutely. So I came to this home management space by way of being a kid that didn't have a lot of security. So we moved around a lot, and we were always trying to figure out how to work on our homes to improve them. And so over time, as a kid growing up in Idaho, I learned to work with my hands, and I really enjoyed working with my hands. And I like to tell the story about my best friend was Myrtle Friedman, and she was in her 90s. And one of my first jobs as a kid was to weed her garden, tend to her rhubarb, and like hang out in her living room and eat hard candy while she told me stories. So I've always been entrepreneurial, and Myrtle was one of my first clients, I guess, and loved her. And over time, really wanted to focus on being in the home space with a sensitivity to the fact that not everybody can really navigate what it takes to live securely and comfortably in their own homes, whether that person is renting something or whether they own that thing. So I've cut my teeth on running a company that manages and maintains $2.5 billion in real estate in Washington, D.C. And we've learned how to do that really well in a turnkey space, but Birdwatch gives us the opportunity to offer that high touch in-home maintenance service for people that own their homes. And I've been doing this kind of work for the last 15 years, professionally for the last 30 years, as that sort of side hustle, and like fixing my own home and tiling and painting and doing all of that. And then in the last year and a half, Chris and I were able to cross paths, and we decided to kind of co-found an entirely new company, which is Birdwatch. And we have, as an origin story, really thought about how the services, which we'll get more into in a bit, how the services are just really complementary to folks that want to age in and enjoy their homes for as long as possible. And yeah.
I love it. So you had mentioned that your paths crossed. Chris, tell us a little bit about your background and how the two of you connected.
Yeah, absolutely. It was about a shared insight into a human need. And that's really what I've spent the bulk of my career doing. I spent the first decade of my career in the education world, which is sort of the services business for your mind, right? How do you give people tools to access new ways of life, new jobs, new trainings, those sorts of things. And then the last decade has been around more broadly, how does innovation really help human needs, right? A lot of people think innovation is about ideas, and it's not. Innovation, ideas are a dime a dozen. It's about seeing unmet human needs. And one of the things through some lived experience that we had seen was that, as you said before, Steve, there are lots of businesses around the medical needs for those who are aging in their homes. But I started to see people in my own lives that where it was becoming more difficult for them to take care of a property that they were the proud owner of, right? But they couldn't interface in the same way. But the funny thing that really led Lisa and I together was that we realized that wasn't just for those folks. When we talked to their adult children, the adult children needed help at home. And that's really the organizing principle, that a home is a difficult thing for all of us. It's the American dream, but it's a pain in the butt. And we all need help sometimes. And we are that trusted friend that can be there to take care of your home. That was the insight. We started an idea and a business around that, and it's really taken off ever since, and we've enjoyed it.
Now, Lisa, I don't want to put you on the spot, and I know we're talking about home maintenance and aging in place, but if anybody looks up Lisa Wise online, you'll find that she's got a very interesting background. I just pulled up your website, which I'm going to share with folks in chat, but you gotta tell us a little bit more about this backstory. You've written a book. It says here that you founded the Sherlock Holmes Detective Agency, or so let's pull back the curtains a little bit more before we dive into this discussion.
Okay, where do I start? My Sherlock Holmes Detective Agency. A lot of girls and boys will talk about, what they dreamed that their wedding might be like, and I only dreamed of what my home office would look like. I really dreamed of having my own desk, and I pictured myself taking meetings with my Sherlock Holmes business, like solving all kinds of crimes. But as it turned out, it wasn't a market fit. And in the 1,800 person town that I was living in at the time, there wasn't much of a mystery to solve. But, I've always been really engaged in community and figuring out how I can participate and contribute to that community. And I had been chatting it up with a woman that was the publisher of the local newspaper, which came out every 2 weeks. And so I went down to chat with her and I said, listen, Roberta, I need an ad for my Sherlock Holmes Detective Agency. And I was probably 10 or 11. And she's like, I got you covered. And she did it for free. So I felt like I was truly waiting for people to come in droves. The first advertising I'd done. And then, I had to close that business pretty quickly for lack of business. What else did I end up doing? I ran that out of my parents' shed. And then over time, I just realized that for me, having lived with a lot of housing insecurity, for me, I was really laser focused on being in a space where I could help people in homes, because I was one of those people that needed that help. And because, our family had to knit together resources and understand not only how to sort of use whatever career path you had available, but having to complement that with, we have to figure out these things ourselves. And that was, really informative. I think many of us can look back and say, what were those formative experiences? And I was, like I said, born to be in business, but also born to say, I want to generate security and safety for myself. But if you know me, or you read the book, or you talk to people around me, I don't want to do anything that serves one person. I want to do things that have impact. I want that halo effect. Say oh, she's able to serve this community. So then why would you just serve one when you can impact people over here as well? So it's that energetic economy of scale, right? If I do something here and I've knit together the right foundation for that, then I can share it out. Then we can have an abundance mindset. So I've always moved through life with this abundance mindset. And it's why I wrote the book, because the book isn't self-promotional. The book is promoting the idea that we in business can have that abundance and really take care of people where they are.
And what is the title of the book?
It's called Self-Elected: How to Put Justice Over Profit and Soar in Business. And that's me on that horse. At a farm that my grandmother, who I was closest to growing up, they had a ranch in Colorado, and I would spend a lot of time there. And she had this horse that was a retired quarter horse who loved my grandmother because, grandma just fed him carrots and apples all day, but I would be around and I wanted to ride him. And so she would always indulge me, and I'd ride Mortgage around. But his name was Mortgage. So
oh my God,
unbelievable.
Yeah. That's very fitting. Anyways, so well, great. Well, I know we've already got questions on what Birdwatch does. So why don't we dive into that a little bit? And then for folks in the audience, especially those that haven't been to these discussions, anything and everything is open season in terms of, questions, comments, challenges that you're faced with, especially as it relates to home maintenance and aging in place. But tell us a little bit about Birdwatch. But before we do that, Vicky asks, how far across the US does your company reach? I'm in a community in the foothills of North Carolina.
Well, right now we're in Philadelphia and DC. So although the Flock family of companies have been around for 13 years, Birdwatch as a new service is just a year old. So we're getting a foothold in the mid-Atlantic area at present. But the ambition is that this isn't, people needing help at home, being stressed out for time, not knowing where to find good, reliable vendors. That's not endemic to Philadelphia and DC, right? It's all across the country. So we hope to be in your neck of the woods very soon.
I love it. So yeah, tell us a little bit about what Birdwatch does and how it can help folks in the Philadelphia, DC area.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a 60-second video. Would be a good time to show that, Steve, to kind of
absolutely
kick things off. Okay.
Meet Birdwatch, taking the hassle out of homeownership and giving you peace of mind. Homeownership has extraordinary benefits, but there can be some headaches too. Dreaming of a one-stop solution for your home to-do list? A service that handles any and all home maintenance needs? Introducing Birdwatch, your concierge solution to home repairs, upgrades, and maintenance. We take the hassle out of homeownership. Birdwatch is here for any repair coordination. Think slow leaks, appliance issues, drywall and painting, brick pointing, toilet replacement, flooring repairs, and anything else that has been on your wish list for far too long. Our preventative maintenance programs are perfect for those recurring seasonal items, so you can set it and forget it. Just think, a custom plan for the specific needs of your home, gutter cleanings, HVAC servicing, fireplace cleanings, pest control, and more. Birdwatch offers a 24-hour line for emergencies and an app that makes sending maintenance requests a breeze and getting in touch is easy. From emergency toilet repairs to a down tree in the yard, Birdwatch is here for you. Birdwatch handles issues as simple as hanging pictures or mounting a TV to monitoring a vacant property or tackling a flood. Nothing is too big, too small, or too dramatic for us to handle.
That's a quick overview of what we do, but again, at the bottom of it, we are thus the trusted partner for your home. What we realize in our own trials and tribulations as homeowners is that a lot of the marketplaces out there, when you're on Thumbtack or Handy, it's really hard to find good, reliable work, right? Everybody's out there, freelancers, gig work, and there's a time and a place for that, right? But that's not solving my fundamental need when I've got work, I've got to get dinner ready, I've got to get the kids off to soccer practice, all those sorts of things. Or in the case of our aging adults and whatnot, we don't want, grandpa up on the ladder doing the gutter cleaning and those sorts of things, right? Or changing the light bulbs in the ceiling fan. So the missing link for us was that human connection, to really bring back in someone who is there for you, can answer questions, can make you feel safe and sound in your home. So trust really is our bottom line.
Yep, absolutely. And, there are things that a lot of folks are not sure of in terms of how to properly maintain a home, and where a lot of those safety issues are popping up. We have a safe and sound plan that we like to introduce to our members so that we partner with them to say, all right, we want a checklist of the things that we want in place for your home to be secure. And we want to check the smoke detectors. We want to check the fire extinguisher. We want to make sure that air filters are clean, but we also want to take a look and make sure you have the right carbon monoxide detector. Are there any concerns that we have around safety? But then along with are there modifications that need to be made? I know that my in-laws were lucky enough to be able to build a home, and they anticipated the fact that they may not be able to go up and down. So they built in an elevator shaft, which they may or may not need, but you have the luxury of that when you're thinking ahead. But a lot of people, if you're aging in place, you're already in place, which means you may not have modified your home to accommodate any kind of an assisted device, right? Whether that's a wheelchair or a walker or whatever that may be, or you need to kind of shut down the top floor of your home. What does that look like? Or you may, because you don't want to be in a scenario where you've got a leak happening, but you're not going up and down the stairs, or your parents aren't going up and down the stairs. So, or the grab bars. And while there may be a lot of people that can do it, it's very simple for that to be done poorly. So we want to make sure it's quality of work that is consistent with sort of the end use of whatever that maintenance effort is. So it is being thoughtful about who we're working with and what those particular unique needs are going to be. I mean, when we have someone who's a lawyer who's traveling all the time, it's all about checking their property when they're gone and being on call when there are emergencies. We have a different plan for folks that are home, most of the time, and or maybe they want to go out, but they don't have someone to wait for someone, or we can go over and kind of bundle those things together. So it's about that custom plan, but it's also about like, what can you do to enhance your space and make it sort of ultimately work for you. So that could be simple things like we had a fabric overlay for somebody's lounger because so they had a pocket for the remote control. Once the remote control kept getting lost, it's like that may seem like not a maintenance ticket, but it was something that kept that person from getting up and down, or like just or getting. And there are a lot of use cases like that where we're sensitive to just the people in different stages of life have different needs in their homes, and we can meet them exactly where they are.
Yeah, and that's what we hope to talk about this, this session, answer some of those questions that you may have, because look, we serve a lot of different types of customers. You see them on the screen here, the busy families, the millennial first-time buyers. Many of these may be your children or grandchildren. It's not exactly a DIY generation, right? They're confused about how a home works, right? So it's different types of needs, but at the same thing, it's how can we provide that helping hand to make something complicated easy? And we can certainly look forward to answering some of the questions today about how we approach that in our own homes.
Yeah, I love it. And really, Lisa, you brought up this, fabric question about, or the one of the stories I love to tell when I'm speaking in front of live audiences, I'm sort of like, hey, you want to know who a lot of people have to turn to get furniture moved or get that light bulb screwed in? It's the Domino's and UPS drivers. It's sort of like because who are you going to call to just get a piece of furniture moved across the room? And the problem is that if you don't have somebody to call and you try to do it yourself and you throw your back out, now you're talking about these more traditional aging in place services that we're talking about. And so I am excited that y'all are looking at this as one of your segments, because I think there's a lot here. I also like the fact that we're talking to an organization that's not exclusively focused on older adults. It's not the Birdwatch service for older adults. It's the Birdwatch service for everybody. So that's fantastic. So let's answer some of the questions that have been popping in here. First off, Shanti asks, when you say the DC, does that include Maryland too? Is this the greater DC metro area that you serve?
Yes.
It is.
Okay.
And I see someone ask sort of the charging model and fee model and kind of who's doing that work, which is a great question because we have a different model. So we see Angie's List, how's this different? Angie's List, Thumbtack, Handy, those are lead generation tools. So you're paying for and or engaging with a service that ties you to a provider who has paid for the privilege of that referral. Whoever has the time or interest or bandwidth to take that ticket will change every time. You never know who's going to come to your home. You don't really know what their background and quality is. You can hope for that the reviews look good. You are still needing to go find that person, coordinate the repair, see if they're interested, and then be there when they come to do the repair. We take all of that off your plate. You make one call, you work with Birdwatch, and we're going to coordinate all the myriad things that could be going on in your home. 70% of the tickets are done by our in-house maintenance technicians. That makes for a nimble company. It makes for one that can deliver on that high value hospitality like client experience for folks. And it keeps our team members happy. When you take care of your team, which is a fundamental value system for us, is that our technicians are the heart of the company. They are the ones interfacing with people in their homes. And that is a huge, huge responsibility and privilege to have that invitation. We need them to feel taken care of. If we take care of them, they'll take care of our client base. And that has worked very well. Obviously, we can't have every specialty in-house. We'll have about 30% of our tickets are handled by an outside specialist. And those folks are vetted, and licensed, insured, bonded. We aggregate so much work across the different businesses that vendors like to pick up our call first, and we can work out guarantees or turnaround times that are very much favorable to our client base. You're going to skip the line. So if your heat is out, you're going to get the preferred timeline instead of whoever's calling on their own behalf saying, I need my heat's out, I need a repair, and everybody's a week or 2 weeks out, because that's how you get in line as a consumer. It's sort of like having the Admirals Club or the Easy Pass or Clear, whatever it is. You're like, great, this streamlines things for me, and I don't have to be worried that it's not going to happen. There's also this like very high touch, like if we can't get that repair done because maybe there's a part or a supply chain issue, we'll drop off space heaters. Or if the refrigerator's out, we'll drop off a mini fridge. So at least you have something to tide you over while we wait for whatever that final repair is.
Yeah, and so if, in case you're tuning in a little bit late, I mean, Lisa said in the beginning, this business, part of it was incubated under this $2 billion of rental real estate management that the company, that one of her sister companies is currently doing, so that you're leveraging that workforce and that experience. And I think, I actually see where Louis Tenenbaum, who's an expert in universal design, just popped on the call. When you talk about, your workforce being able to do a lot of work, but 30% of your work gets farmed out, that's probably like universal design and specialized types of like you talked about installing an elevator. It's sort of like, that's not going to be your in-house team. That's going to be you all working with an outside contractor, and you're open to relationships with the folks out there, correct? That are doing in the Philadelphia, DC region. Yeah, because your typical, you all could, and I'm speaking of a consumer could have a relationship with a certified aging in place specialist who put up the grab bars, but that specialist may not be the one that you're going to call to get a light bulb screwed in or to get your air conditioning fixed. So this really starts to make a lot of sense when you think about it, from what are the needs for somebody to age in place for a period of decades in many of our cases. So, okay, so we answered, so that was Vicky's, okay, well, she says, how do you charge, but what do you charge? How does that work?
Yeah, I can talk about this, and I can actually answer a couple questions at once. So some of the different models like Angie's List or Yelp, they're ad-supported platforms, right? They're reviews. So you go on there and you're reading things, but they're prioritized based on who paid to be at the top of that list, right? And at the end of the day, none of those providers work for Yelp or Angie. So if you need a one-off project, it may work. But again, when you add all that stuff up for what goes on in your home, that's when it becomes difficult. Other platforms like Thumbtack, Handy, these sorts of things, they work with gig work, right? They're sort of like an Uber for your home, right? Where some individual will come to your house, and again, maybe 60% of the time it's a great experience, but the other 40% of the time when it either has to be redone or the person didn't show up or you got this crazy triple bill that you didn't expect, they're all just, coming and going, right? And they don't mind if they lose you as a customer because it was only one gig that they were in it for. So the difference with our model is that we are a membership model. And what that gives you access to is essentially your home concierge. That is your go-to contact. We get to know everything in your house. We document all of the systems, the model numbers, the types of environment that you have there, so that we have an ongoing relationship. No matter what comes up, if it's general handiwork, light electrical, plumbing, it's going to be our staff. They're going to be wearing this shirt. You're going to know whose truck pulls up there, and hiring people, giving them full benefits. It's really part of our model. We're a public benefit corporation. And not only do we believe that's the right way to treat people, but ultimately that's the difference in customer experience, because it's going to be more reliable. And it's going to be, especially for vulnerable communities. And even when I have young children in the house, right? Like, I want to know who's there. I don't want to have strangers coming in and out. So that's what that membership model is all about. So, you know, you are in the family. And then as you have needs, whether it is part of preventative maintenance with our safe and sound packages that are set up, that we come there and we do the winterizing, we do the summer prep, right? Like, all those things can be set it and forget it for you. But then as those episodes come up where the toilet is leaking, right? Or just something nice to have, you're having company over and you want to get the deck power washed. All of that you now have an answer for. It's kind of like the easy button for the home. And those are just billed on a transparent hourly basis. So that's how all of that works.
Okay,
We can
great.
bundle a lot of things as well. So I think if folks have, 5, 6, 10, even 10 things, you don't have to call 10 different people. And you don't have to schedule those out separately. We can come and knock them all out at the same time. So I'm a Birdwatch member, and it's really handy because I'm busy. And there are certain things I will not get to, even as the handiest person I know. And I had Birdwatch out last week. We had them paint the playhouse for my son, which looks awesome. We had a medicine cabinet put up. We had some things moved around from the attic downstairs. We had rugs swapped out, and then we had them flip the mattress, because who gets to that, right? And it's like, and that is something that you're like, yeah, who do you call for that? Yet that needs to be done. And so those are the kinds of things that we can sort of stack. And like check some things off the box, and like say, oh, do you want us to do a walkthrough and just kind of check and make sure everything's looking good, or like look for leaks or whatever that is.
No, I love it. Okay, and earlier somebody was asking about North Carolina. Mary Ellen is asking about the Boston area, and as you had stated, you're primarily serving the Philadelphia and the DC metro area, including Northern Virginia, DC, and suburban Maryland. Are there other companies like this that are around the country that you have relationships with and might be able to give a referral to for Boston, or
Unfortunately, not in Boston. We know there are some pockets. There's a company that's in Long Island that does some similar stuff at a smaller scale, one down in Austin, but really it confuses us as well why this sort of business model hasn't emerged. The biggest thing that we can tell is everybody wants to go to these gig work models, and everybody just wants to be a website. They want to be a tech company. They don't want to lean into the human element because it's hard. But the reality is there's no shortage of people who work well with their hands. There's a shortage of companies that treat them well. So by trying to create a virtuous circle where we're paying great wages, great career path for service technicians, we can bring that sort of quality to new markets. So we do hope to be up in Boston. We hope to be in North Carolina in the upcoming years.
I love it. Yeah, and I really think that you all are in a unique position, because in addition to this, the multifamily work that you do enables you to really retain that higher level customer. And I bet you see in your multifamily, you see a lot of older adults there too, because there's no age segregation in typical apartment buildings.
Exactly. And a lot of it, we know that in both Philly and DC, there are a lot of folks that just, they've lived in their spot for 30 years, and so there's been a lot of deferred things, and there's also like a simplicity of living in a building that has elevators, that has what you need in order to comfortably and safely live in those spaces.
All right. My friend Louis Tenenbaum, who I mentioned is a pioneer in the universal design, says, sorry I'm late. Do you prepare a schedule and a budget? And how far out is that maintenance budget?
We do want to work to your budget. So part of our process is what Chris talked about, having someone come in and basically build a custom flight plan for your home. So budget is yours to determine, and it's ours to design something that sort of prioritizes things. We're always going to prioritize being safe and sound. So anything safety related is always the top of the list. And we don't want to start with a backsplash, but not put the smoke detectors up that are on the floor. So we're going to establish that baseline. Then we're going to ask questions about like what needs to be done seasonally so that the house stays in good repair, so that there's air quality, so that there, where you're understanding kind of what the home needs to just maintain value. One of the things that we're concerned with, that I've been concerned with, and I did elder care for quite a while, is knowing that there are a lot of predators for folks that are living in their own homes, and homes can fall into disrepair. And then you have other folks that want to come in and just like swoop in and buy I mean, we don't want that to happen to our client base. So we want to be that partner, that trusted partner. So if we know how much it typically costs to maintain a home is somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a year. Some people have been rolling the dice and getting lucky. Sometimes people spend more and sometimes they spend less. A condo is usually between $1,500 and $2,000, depending on the size. And we have all that data from the 15 years I've been doing this work professionally. So what do you need to get done? Are there deferred items? Is there an enhanced, do you want, is it a family member who's doing this on behalf of a parent who says, we want to put the flat screen TV in? And then we go back and build that plan for you and say, like, this is pretty much what you're looking at. So which of these things would you like to do? And how can we schedule these in advance? So a lot of the preventive and or safe and sound services that we can offer, which is, making sure that the hot water heaters flush so it's safe, checking for carbon monoxide issues, making sure that the fire extinguisher and the smoke detectors are handled, power washing, clearing drains so that you're not having floods, checking sump pumps. We don't need you to remember those things. We've got them in our system, and we'll make sure, like, here's the reminder that we've got this on schedule for you, so that there's not, like, people forget things. And that's another service that we can offer in terms of like pre-packaging that, but you're expecting to spend expense because we work with you based on what your needs and resources are.
Yeah. And those, we can have some general tips, especially for those outside of our service areas, because we can talk about what we do, but if, we obviously are not everywhere. Lisa gave some numbers there. Generally, the rule of thumb is 1% to 4% of your home value is what it, takes to keep it up each and every year. And it's going to be on the higher end if you've been deferring that over time. But we all think we go to the dentist a couple times a year, right? We have insurance on our phones, right? But how is it that we keep up those things in the home? Think seasonally about those big systems in your home, right? When was the last time we had the hot water heater looked at? When was the last time the HVAC system was looked at? Because in general, $1 spent on preventative maintenance can save up to $4 if suddenly that unit goes out and you have to replace it. And things like hot water heaters, depending on if it's a tank or a tankless, should live 12 to 20 years if they're kept up properly. If you just put them in, you never look at them again for 5 years, that lifetime is going to be shorter, right? So part of it is just being aware of what a budget should be allocated so you don't have surprises. And then just keeping a list of what are those systems that I should be monitoring and who do I have on tap to be able to reach out to for them? Because when that emergency comes, it's going to be hard to find that person the next day. Right?
As y'all are talking, my wife is sort of the captain of the ship in my home. Okay. And we, you hear a lot of ads on TV today about these streaming services. We're all members of about 20 streaming services. We don't know which ones we're paying for. And there's a lot of companies out there that understand that now, and they're consolidating that. In my household, I think we have service contracts with plumbers, HVAC, gutter cleaning, all of this. And we're not maximizing that because we don't have a captain of the ship and like a quarterback. And I can see where there's value in this is that because a lot of you are calling up your plumber and you may be paying a monthly fee to a plumbing service and you don't even realize it. Just like you've got a Paramount Plus account, you don't even realize that. So let me get to some more of these questions because it looks like we got a few of them coming in here. Tony says, do you have resource partners to offer your homeowners financing to pay for your services? I'd be interested in reviewing home equity solutions with you and your clients so that they can help pay for renovations and upgrades to their home. So it sounds like Tony might be in the business here, but yeah, I guess that you might come into a home and from a safety perspective, they haven't been making those $2,000 annual investments in upkeep and it's in disrepair, and a person may need a little bit more of an investment to get their home up to speed.
Sure.
Any thoughts?
I mean,
on that?
to Tony's point, I know some other people have talked about vendors or vetting. We're always interested in partners that can be solutions for our customers. Well, one thing to know about our business model is we have no financial incentive with any third parties that we bring in. We have transparent pricing on that. We have somebody coming into your home because we believe that they are the best for that work. That's the only reason that they're there. So we have a vetting process that they would go through. But ultimately, yes, if somebody needs a large bundle of work done, right, we can talk through what that financing should be. We don't do the type of work that you would consider GC work, general contracting work. So we're not with Birdwatch going to do an addition to your home or, a whole roof job. But what we will do for you, this is part of the concierge coaching model, we'll help you go through that process of comparing estimates. What should you make sure that is in the scope of work, right? Was the materials budget included that you're aware of? Are the proper permits listed here? Because we've all had that experience where you have 2 or 3 vendors come in and you get 5,000, 15,000, and 27,000. And you say, how can this possibly be the same scope of work? And oftentimes it's not, but it's hard to dig through that when it's a one-time thing that you don't have experience with. So again, we have team members that will go through and just help be your partner for those larger type projects.
I love it. And then Vicky says, how could a prospective technician be approved or vetted by Birdwatch? I did drop your emails into chat. So if you know of somebody, I imagine just reach out directly, but did you want to sort of share any insights on how that process works?
We have our third-party vendors and then our in-house maintenance technicians. And one of the things that we do, we have in-house one of the most talented general contractors I've ever worked with. Actually, he is the most talented general contractor I've ever worked with. And so one of his responsibilities is to make sure that our maintenance technicians are up to our standards. So he actually does visits with them. He spends time, he has them actually do work and runs them through all these sort of training tools. If there's anything that where there's a gap. So that testing is certainly part of how the vetting process for in-house maintenance technicians, but for third party, a lot of them we've had long track records with. Others, we're going to look at the reviews, we're going to interview them, we're going to say sort of like, are you willing to manage the process to our standards? So we want documentation, video, photographs. We want to make sure that you're representing the company the way we'd like you to and the way you need to. And they know that there's more work for that. And I can tell you what our clients like most is that they don't really have to interface or worry about how they're chatting with or coordinating with the vendor or with the contractor, because the home concierge team member is the one that ensures the communication is running smoothly. And you're not having to translate back and forth. So if the electrician's coming and you need to have GFCI outlets put in because your house didn't include that, the electrician isn't there trying to explain what that is. Your concierge is saying, this is what's going to happen, so that the team member, the vendor, gets to just go in and do what they do best. We also help them with their invoicing, their scheduling, their business. I mean, it's a good deal for them. And we are intentionally the easiest possible client for them to engage with, so that we pass the ease of that onto our client base, and that they're nimble and ready to go, and they love working with us, and we pay them on time. Like we are on your behalf, like the best client they'll have, which means you, as our client, you're getting that top tier service.
I love it. All right. I knew we were going to get, once we started diving into the contracting thing, John asks, I have a home that I'm renovating in Berryville, Virginia, which is sort of on the fringes of the DC area, but I guess it's still there. Probably out of your area of service. How do I find contractors? So any words of wisdom for folks that are in Berryville or Boise, Idaho? Any suggestions on finding contractors?
Yeah, I'll share one resource, then Lisa is going to have a lot on this. There's a company called, it's a nonprofit called Consumers Checkbook, and I just dropped the link in the chat there. Now, they are nationwide in that they're in certain markets. They're not in all markets, but they are sort of like a nonprofit that vets local providers. So one of the things I would say is generally try to avoid the Angie's List and the Yelps, the review-driven sites, because it's hard to tell what is an advertisement, a sponsored content piece. and what is a real review. I mean, you can go on there just to find who the purveyors might be in your area, but it's difficult to sift through. An entity like this does all unbiased reviews. And if you talk to some of the local services in your area, whether with the township or the local government, they may be able to point you to an unbiased list of resources in your neighborhood as well.
I also, this is the old school way of doing it, right? Like talk to your neighbors or people in your network that have worked well with a vendor, and then actually check the work. So one person's this job went well is another person's that did not go well.
Right.
So get eyeballs on what's been done, ask and probe questions about, was this person timely? Did the amount exceed by 10 to 20% over what the estimate was? Were they telling me what to anticipate? So some of it is just like, what was their communication style? Were they consistent with their timing? Did they deliver the project on time? And was the quality of the work high? Now, you can't have all the things all the time and save money. You need to be realistic about the fact that like these things cost money. These folks work really hard. They've learned how to do things that you can't do yourself. And so, understanding that there is a financial investment. I typically tell people the lowest price tag is not the one that you want to pursue. The highest is likely not. It's somewhere in the middle. And you want to understand like how many active clients are they working with at a time? How do they handle punch list items if they're doing a kitchen? And making sure that if you're looking for bids, let's say that you've got 2 or 3 people, you've gotten some recommendations or referrals, you got 2 or 3 bids, you want to make sure that they're all apples to apples. And so a lot of contractors will come in with price tags that look appealing, because what you're not noticing is that half the materials costs that are in this other estimate are not in this one. So if you have anyone that's just gone through the process, or they've done a renovation or something similar to what you're aiming for, so like, how did you do the budgeting for that? So you're getting the right estimate from the right person at the right time. And then you want to just check all those credentials. But it is really kind of community that is going to spit out the right person. And that's how it's done there.
And this is not an endorsement for Nextdoor, but the Nextdoor website has connected neighbors together. And I see a lot of chatter and discussions on that platform where, again, as Chris and Lisa said, be very sensitive to what is advertising and what is an actual neighbor providing an endorsement for a gutter cleaning service or something like that, but again, I think, Lisa, just hearing you describe how we all need to be sort of reviewing contractors' proposals and managing that job, it really speaks to the value of having the Birdwatch concierge, at least as somebody in who's there advocating for you and helping you along the way if you are engaging in a project like this.
Yeah, I mean, even small stuff. We met with a client last night, actually, who told us an unsolicited, unprompted story about the fact that, one our contractor, she'd had a problem with her refrigerator. She was 8 months in, the $800 part was ordered, it was lost. And so she, Jason went over and said, I think it's this other issue, and put in a different part to resolve it. And then our concierge every other day for a week kept saying, like, is it still working? I don't want to bill you until we know this issue is resolved. That's coming to every transaction with as much honesty and authenticity as you could ever get from someone that you've hired to help you with your home. And it is that follow-up. It is we want to make sure that the experience was a good one. And I think that really helps people make the best use of the program as well.
Oh, holy cow, man, I just glanced. We got tons of questions. We got Anthony on LinkedIn throwing in some kudos for this service. But let me burn through a few of these. I think some of them we can get through pretty quickly. Sandy asks, Northern Virginia, Alexandria, Fairfax County, that's part of your coverage area, correct? Yep. Okay. Vicky asks, please go through some dollar amounts. So what does it cost to be a member?
Sure. So the membership fee is $50 to $75, depending on what type. If you have a condo, a single family home, the flight planning onboarding fee, we can waive that for this group, right? So that's normally $250 to $400, but we're happy to, be a part of this community. And then as you have work, our pricing is transparent at an hour. It's $125 an hour. We can do project rates if it is a large bundle of work, which we always try to do, so that we're coming to your house in the most efficient manner. And then anytime we do use one of those specialty vendors, again, we don't get kickbacks, we don't get financial incentives from them. This is a 15% coordination fee for all the concierge work. And if you have vendors, for example, that you love, we can adapt to them too. We can just be your concierge. Part of what people love about us is it's having a super on staff for your own home, right? So you don't have to worry about coordinating time or access. We use digital locks for a lot of our customers, right? So when they're out, we know we can get the work done. And by the time they get home, boom, you got a new door in. So we can take care of all that stuff. And that's that 15% fee.
We're also
Okay.
sensitive to the fact that not everybody is ready for smart locks or portals or all the things. So we can call, we have the interface that we want to meet customers again where they are.
And Dawn asks, is there any grant funding available or subsidies for services for low-income seniors? Anything like that on the horizon?
There will always be that kind of work on the horizon for us. So we have committed to 1% of our gross profits going to housing justice work, which is to help people get into and own homes who have been, I think, historically disadvantaged and or not given the same opportunity. We also understand that there are a lot of existing needs in lower income communities, and particularly for seniors who have deferred maintenance on their homes. For right now, what we try and do is partner with and give support to the organizations that actually are delivering those services. But over time, one of the things that we want to do is allocate a certain percentage of the tech time to go and do that work. So we will work toward that, where, as any company would need to be, we need to be in a more profitable position so we can carve out we do 1,000 hours of work for these communities. And it's just going to take us a little while to get there. But as a public benefits corporation and as someone who wrote a book about justice, I totally get why we can use our business to do the right thing in the world.
Okay, and yeah, I meant to follow up with you on the public benefits corporation, and I just did a quick Google search, which I'll drop in there. But can you give me the elevator speech on what a public benefits corporation is, and how is that different than a typical LLC or S corp?
Yeah, so this is
nonprofit.
Yeah, it's a version of a corporation. And what it means is, from the very beginning, we have a governance mandate to serve two bottom lines, which is stakeholders and investors, right? Like any business, we need to be profitable to be able to grow. But we have to serve a higher mission. And that mission that we have declared is that all people should have access to safe and enjoyable housing, right? And Lisa talked about kind of our 1% revenue for housing justice that gets people down payment grants to get into their homes, whether it is free and pro bono home safety inspections that we hope to do in these communities in the near future. It simply means that anytime as an organization, as a board, we make decisions, we cannot make them only based on profit. We have to take into consideration the impact on the community that we are serving.
Great. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully, Susan, they'll be in Charlottesville soon. And then you talked about your fees, and Edith was asking, are these monthly, yearly, or quarterly?
They're monthly. We want people to feel like they can get in, try it out, not be committed. We do offer discounts for annual.
Okay. Vicky asks, are you going to franchise this in the future? It could be a great opportunity.
It is a great question. I mean, it's something that Lisa and I talked about in our second meeting together. I think it's an open question. Our hesitation around franchising is that ultimately then you give control to other local business owners. Now, if you have the perfect partner, it can be a great partnership. But ultimately for us, having control of what we call that last mile delivery, the people in your home, it is literally the most important thing for our business. Being able to have that trust and know that we are doing the right thing in these homes is above all else, because that if we ruin that, we ruin the growth of the business. So for the near term, we're going to grow ourselves as Birdwatch, and then we'll keep eyes on opportunities in the future.
Great. And Rod asks, do you take advantage of warranties for appliances and dishwashers and furnaces and things like that?
Yes, so we certainly don't want you to leave any money on the table. So depending on the warranty service, we're gonna, we'll have an understanding of what's available in terms of coverages, and then we'll help coordinate getting that work delivered by that warranty service. In some cases, our fee can be applied, or you can use our services. In other cases, they make you use your own vendor. In other cases, they just do a reimbursement.
Great.
And Steve, since the word warranty came up, I'll also mention home warranties, because that's something that a lot of folks, 25% of new homes, individuals buy home warranties. And we're not incompatible with home warranties. We're just sort of a different solution. Home warranty, at the end of the day, it's an insurance product, right? It's something that you hope not to use, but it's there if 3 or 4, big things go wrong in your home. Now, a lot of people have unsavory experiences with home warranties. They're sort of designed to say no in some cases, but even if it's best version, a home warranty is not going to paint the kid's bookshelf or clean the deck, or do those nice things around the home. So we have many customers that utilize both a home warranty and Birdwatch. They just serve slightly different purposes.
Great. And someone asked, do you do outside maintenance? I guess we've been talking a lot about inside stuff, but tree, deck, pond, weeding, garden work, things like that.
Yeah, so
100%.
Absolutely. From a masonry project to a roof replacement to, we had someone that was running power to a hot tub, but that whoever they had to do that work did not bury the line. And so when the seeding people for the lawn went out, they punctured the Romex line. And so we needed to go and retrench and redig and reorient that to safety standard. So yeah, sometimes our in-house techs can do that. If you have landscape lighting, landscape lighting is amazing. If you can get it and get it to work, we have techs that can put that landscape lighting in. So power washing, I think one of the things that, if you're not power washing, like a lot of times you can get a film or residue on your sidewalk. That means it's going to be slippery, especially if it rains at all. So those are the kinds of things, like you want to get that debris or residue on your sidewalk off so that you're safer. And that's the kind of stuff we're thinking through. It's up to you which of those services you're going to procure. But again, we can pretty much cover whatever you need that's maintenance related.
Great. And let's see. Susan asks, do you service Doylestown, PA? It's an hour north of Center City, Philly.
Yeah, hi, Susan. I grew up on the border of Montgomery and Bucks, so I know that area well. We'll be there about the end of the year. Right now, we're in the urban core of Philadelphia and the west northwest suburbs, but we'll be up to our friends in Bucks County soon.
Okay, great. And then let's just repeat it again, because Phyllis, I'm not sure when it looks like she typed this in a few minutes ago. What is your fee schedule again?
Yep, it's a monthly membership fee. So it's $50 to $75. That gives you access to the team, triage over the phone, the video, gets you the safe and sound preventative maintenance planning. And then episodes are billed as you have them. $125 an hour for general maintenance work. If you have a whole bundle of stuff to do, we'll give you a reduced rate, half day, full day.
And then Vicki says, your company and mission are awesome. I'm glad I'm listening. And then the last question I've got on our pile, and I see we're almost to the top of the hour, is Lewis is providing a resource. It's called Yached DC, is an organization that does a lot of maintenance work on homes and helps navigate public funding. I was not familiar with this. I dropped it into Google. So this looks like an organization that might help folks who are lower income. Do you ever sort of help people navigate maybe public programs or anything like that? Because you could see where somebody for $50 to $75 a month, somebody could afford to have you as their concierge, and you might be able to help them with some navigate other programs.
I think as we begin to mature as a company, that can plug into like a lot of coexisting needs, right? So it's not just the maintenance service, but are there public services available? And we'll grow into where we think that it makes most sense for us to be. And we are always good at connecting people to the dots. So if there's something that we can offer, I can tell you that we've we worked with a lot of elderly in my legacy family of companies, and navigating those programs and working with social workers was always it has always been a big feature of what we do. So I'm familiar with how we make that happen. I know, and we did a volunteer program where we helped seniors put combined smoke and carbon detectors in, and these were lower income seniors who were using their ovens as heaters. And we worked with the fire department to get those in. So we're always going to be thinking about how do you knit together the services that people need to sort of happily and safely move through life.
And Carolyn says, what about the orientation fee? Is there an orientation fee?
And we can share out a promo code for that. So the onboarding fee, which includes the flight plan, the visit, normally we're there for about an hour, hour and a half, really, to get to know all the things in your home. It's usually half inventory, half kind of consultation session. That's normally $250 to $400, but we're happy, Steve, for the community to waive that as a promotion.
Oh, well, thank you. And I hope if any of our community members want to try this out, I think that's great. And I think so as we kind of wrap up, I want you all to share some closing thoughts. And there's a few things that I'm struck with here. Is number one, we haven't really talked about, we talked a little bit about grab bars and things of that nature, but in general, what it makes you realize is that to age in place, there's a lot of stuff that's not related to aging that enables us to live safely in our home for a long period of time. And a company like yours is coordinating those types of things. And as we know, because we feature a lot of these programs on our discussions, there's lots of programs out there that will, you got villages, you got Shepherd Center, you got time banking, where we're leveraging volunteers to help people age in place and do some things that are in this space. But I think at the end of the day, we all know that, how much can you rely on those services? They're fantastic. But I think when you're paying for somebody who's signing on the dotted line and saying, hey, look, we're your advocate, we're your concierge, there's a higher expectation of the level of services there. So I think there's that this is really cool. Okay, Vicky says, what is the code?
Sure. I can put it right here in the chat.
Okay. So this discussion today really has been an eye-opener to me, and I hope for the rest of the audience. I mean, we recognize that Birdwatch is a growing company that's specifically in a specific geographic area now, but I hope you all sort of look at this from the perspective of how important home maintenance is to staying safe in your home and aging in place. It's kind of a blind spot for me.
Yeah.
And awareness is a big part of it. So Steve, thank you for bringing this to bear. And if anyone has follow-up questions about things that either we can help you if you're in our service area, and if you're not, just let us know what questions you have. We're happy to help. That's our mission.
Yeah, no, this has been great. Well, once again, I really want to thank our audience for some amazing questions to really fuel this conversation. And I really want to applaud you all for coming up with this innovative service that I think will really serve a lot of folks. And let's see, Sybil says, much is needed in the RPT area as a lot of halfbacks are moving from, I'm not sure where RPT is, RTP. Oh, Raleigh. Yeah, one of the things for folks that are out there, it's these discussions, because we do such unique discussions, our audience has expanded all over the country. So a lot of times, most of our community members are from the Mid-Atlantic, but it's so exciting to see folks from all over the place. And as much as I wish that this service was in Raleigh. I'm very excited, Sybil, to see that you're in Raleigh and you're here. But I hope that we can help you find solutions all over. I was wondering why chat is not, I apologize. So somebody just pointed out that I had chat disabled for the whole discussion today. I apologize for that. There's so many check boxes I have to click when I host these things. But you guys have been using Q&A quite well today. All right. Okay. Well, thank you all, and we will see you all at the next discussion. But thank you, Lisa and Chris. I look forward to having you back on again, and keep us posted as you open up new regions.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Everybody have a
Wonderful day.
wonderful day.
Cheers.
All right, you bet.